Hello, everybody, and welcome to trimester 3. We are going to start our first unit, which is going to be talking about parallelograms and the different types of parallelograms. But we are going to do a lot of equation solving in this unit. So I want to start off by just refreshing on that. So go ahead and solve this equation for x just to get a little bit of practice. All right, so in this, we're going to be able to define what a parallelogram is and then use those rules of parallelograms to solve for side length and angle measure, okay? Everything we're going to be talking about in this unit is going to be a four-sided figure, a quadrilateral, okay? So that brings us to our vocabulary. So a quadrilateral is any figure with four sides, okay? And then a parallelogram means that they have two pair of parallel sides, okay? So that is, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral because it does have four sides, but it makes it be special because of the parallel sides that it has, okay? So this is what you need to know about a parallelogram. The same side interior angles are supplementary, which means it adds up to be 180. The diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. The opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent, and the opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. Okay, that is important to know. Okay. All right, so I just went and grabbed an image of a parallelogram just so that we could kind of talk through this. So you'll notice that the same side interior angles, so that would be like angle A and angle D, or D and C, C and B, those are all going to be supplementary angles. The diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other, which means they cross. The opposite sides are going to be congruent. So AD and BC are congruent sides, just like AB and DC. And then the opposite angles are also congruent. So angle D and angle B are congruent. Angle A and angle C are congruent. This motion right here, or this, not motion, the way that it is documented, these one little arrow or two little arrows, that shows you that these two sides are parallel and those two sides are parallel, okay? That's just kind of the way they document that, okay? So we are going to use that information to find missing side lengths and missing angles. So here is the first one that we're going to work through. And basically it tells us that ABCD is a parallelogram, so we need to find the length of AD. So I'm going to pull up my other screen for us and zoom in just a little bit. Okay. So because we know that this is a parallelogram, we know that we have side lengths that are the same. So because we are looking for AD, we know that the opposite side to that is its congruent side, which means that if we set those two equal to each other and solve, we're going to be able to find what it is. So we would say that 6x is equal to 4x plus 12. Okay, each side is equal to each other. And then we are going to subtract 4x. We get 2x is equal to 12, divide by 2, and x is equal to 6. But you notice that it did not ask us to solve for x. It asked us to actually figure out what is that side length. So that means that we have to take and plug 6 in for this equation to be able to find the actual measure of AD. So once we plug that in, 4 times 6 is 24, plus 12 is equal to 36. So AD is equal to 36. And if you're guessing if you did it right, you should be able to plug it in here and get the same answer, and you do. 6 times 6 is 36. So that way you know that you did all of your equation solving correctly, okay? So we're going to use this same one, but now we're going to start looking at angle measure, okay, angle measure for this one. So let me pull this up again. Again, remember we said that the opposite angles are going to be equal to each other. Okay, the same side interior are supplementary, which means they add to be 180, but the opposite ones are equal. So knowing that means that we can say that 5y plus 14 has to be equal to 7y minus 12. And then it just, again, is an equation solving. You can see why I said at the beginning of this unit, we're going to be doing a lot of equation solving. So I'm going to move 5y over here just because I tend to like to have a positive variable. So 14 comes down, 7 minus 5 is 2. Okay, now I have to add 12. So 2y is equal to 26. And divide by 2 so that y is equal to 13. And then again, notice it didn't say solve for y. It said find out what this angle is. So that means we have to plug 13 in for y to be able to find that. So we would take 5 times 13 plus 14. So 5 times 13 is 65. 65 plus 14 is going to be 79 degrees. And then always remember, when you're talking about an angle, you need to have a degree measure in there as well. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, one more. So to know that this is a parallelogram, we know that the sides are equal. We know that our bisectors are equal. And when you bisect, it means it bisects it exactly together, like in half, okay? And so for this one, it's asking us to find FG. All right, so we are using some way to figure out FG out of all of this information. So we need to figure out if this is the side we need, what other measure do we use? Well, we know that the one directly across from it is also the same. So that means that we set it up that way. So we would again say 5z minus 16 equals 3z plus 8. Again, I'm going to move my 3z this direction so that I can have a positive variable. I need to add 16. And 8 plus 16 is 24. Divide by 2, and z is going to be 12. So I need to plug that in here to find out FG. So 3 times 12 plus 8. 3 times 12 is 36, plus 8 is 44. So FG is equal to 44. Okay? If you are a person who has not been writing things down, I get during COVID time, we've been a little lazy about pen and paper. You're going to want to start writing stuff down because it makes it so much easier when you're solving equations to have things written down. Okay? All right, one last practice for us together, and then I'm going to have you guys do some practice on your own. Okay? So again, let's pull up this other one. We are looking for the measure of angle B. So to know that, we know that it is equal to D, just like the last time we did this. So we are going to say 9x minus 5 is equal to 10x minus 21. I'm going to subtract 9x just again because I like to have a positive variable, and it's 1x, but I'm just going to say x. 1x, x, same thing, okay? And then we are going to add 21 and get x is equal to 16. So now you know the drill. We have to actually plug that back in here. And by doing that, we're going to take 9 times 16, which is 144, minus 5 is 139 degrees. Okay, so again, 9 times 16 minus 5. 9 times 16 is 144, minus 5 is 139. Okay, so you guys are going to practice one of each of these, one where you're finding a side length and one where you're finding an angle. So here is your first practice. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. Okay, we are looking for side AD is what we're looking for. So go ahead and set up your equation and solve. All right, and now we're going to actually work with this diagonal. We know, again, that this diagonal is split in half, and you are going to set these equals so that you could figure out what JG is. I said angle. I forgot that we were going to do a perpendicular bisector. So we're going to do the bisector, set it up the same. EJ is equal to JG, solve for W, and then plug it back in. Okay, you guys do have an exit ticket that you need to work on after this, and you do need to score a 3 out of 4 on it for credit. All right, so go ahead and find JG and get started on that exit ticket.